Okay, let's try and unpack this. June 12th, 2025. The date itself, it just sounds almost clinical, doesn't it?
It does.
But picture it. The skies over Ahmedabad, a totally normal day, then just shatters.
Suddenly.
Yeah, suddenly, a Boeing 787 Dreamliner Air India Flight AI171, it just wasn't where it should be. It plummeted, crashed right into a residential area, Nagar.
And it wasn't just, an incident. It was instant devastation. Shocking.
Yeah, totally overwhelming, freezing the city, really the whole country, in disbelief.
And the human cost was just immediate, immense. 242 people on that plane, passengers, crew, all those lives just
In moments. And it didn't stop there, did it? The tragedy spread to the ground.
That's right. 5 young students in a medical college hostel right where the plane hit. They were killed, too. It was a catastrophe that went far beyond just the crash site itself.
It's just the scale of it is hard to comprehend. And among all those names, one really stands out in this very particular, almost haunting way. Vijay Rupani.
The former chief minister of Gujarat.
Yes. And learning about his fate on that flight, well, it brings us to this layer of the story that's genuinely startling. It's tied to something really personal for him. A number.
His lucky number, wasn't it?
Exactly. A number he saw is his lucky charm.
It adds this eerie, almost profound dimension to it all. This connection between a personal belief, about fortune and the stark reality of this terrible accident.
It really does. It highlights how we as humans maybe try to find patterns or meaning when something huge and random happens.
That search for order in the chaos.
Yeah. And that's what we want to dig into here in this deep dive based on everything we've looked at. We'll cover the facts of that awful day, understand who Vijay Rupani really was beyond the title.
And then grapple with this really strange intersection of, life, luck, belief, and just unpredictable tragedy.
Right. Let's dive in. So first, the crash itself, the hard facts. Air India Flight AI171. It had just taken off from Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport in Ahmedabad.
Heading for London.
Yeah, bound for London. And just minutes later, it came down over Nagar, hit that medical college hostel.
And like you said, it wasn't a minor impact. It was catastrophic, leading directly to the deaths of those 5 students on the ground. Such a terrible detail.
It's a grim statistic, but you needed to grasp the scope. 241 lives lost in total, everyone on the plane plus those 5 students.
Which immediately puts it right up there, unfortunately, as one of India's deadliest aviation disasters.
And something else notable, it was the first fatal crash involving a Boeing 787 Dreamliner anywhere in the world.
A sobering first. And amidst all that loss, incredibly, there was one survivor from the plane.
Just one. A 40-year-old British national of Indian origin. It makes you pause, doesn't it?
It really does.
And as we said, one of the passengers lost was Vijay Rupani. Not just a name on the list, but a really significant figure in Gujarat's recent history.
Absolutely. His life story itself is quite interesting. He was actually born in Yangon, in Myanmar.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, his family moved to Rajkot back in 1960 because of the political situation there. He didn't come from, a political dynasty or anything. His rise was very much step by step.
And you see that commitment early on. He was involved in student politics, right?
Yeah.
With the Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad.
That's right, a major student movement. And he even spent time in jail in Bhavnagar during the emergency in 1975.
For protesting.
Yes, for protesting against the suspension of civil liberties back then. So a history of activism, of standing on principle.
And from there?
Well, his political career just grew steadily. He became a corporator in Rajkot, that's like a city council member in 87. Then mayor in 96.
Okay.
Then he moved up to the national level, served in the Rajya Sabha, the upper house of parliament, from 2006 to 2012.
And eventually, the top job in the state.
Chief Minister of Gujarat from 2016 to 2021.
But what seems to really come through in the accounts we've seen is his humility, his approachability.
Yes, definitely. He wasn't seen as this distant, big shot politician.
Right. His neighbor, Sanjay Mehta, I think, put it really well. Said Rupani was a tall leader, yes, but he lived like one of us. Always kind, always helpful.
People in Rajkot apparently felt that connection. You wouldn't necessarily know his political stature just bumping into him.
That guy next door vibe.
Exactly. And during his time as CM, he pushed through some significant policies. The Industrial Policy 2020, efforts for tribal upliftment.
And big projects, too, right, in Rajkot?
Yes, key infrastructure. The new airport, a major AIMS medical facility. Plus, he was leading the state through that really difficult post-COVID recovery phase.
And he stayed active politically even after leaving the CM's office.
Very much so. He was the BJP's person in charge for Punjab, overseeing a by-election in Ludhiana West, a special election for one seat.
And this duty, this political work, is actually why he postponed his trip to London originally.
Which brings us right to that detail, the one that makes this whole story so uniquely poignant and frankly just unnerving.
The number, 1206.
Yeah. Because for Vijay Rupani, 1206 wasn't just random digits.
No, it was deeply personal. He truly believed it was his lucky charm, his talisman, something that brought him luck, guided his success.
And it wasn't a secret belief either, it was visible everywhere.
On every vehicle he owned, right? The registration plate.
Exactly. From his early scooter, we see mentions of plates like GJ03DE1206, then later cars, GJ03HK1206, GJ1TS1206.
It was like his signature around Rajkot. People knew, didn't they? See a plate ending in 1206 is probably Vijay.
Mm-hmm. And his friends, supporters, they kind of bought into it too, saw it as a positive sign, part of his destiny, perhaps.
Some reports even say his mobile number ended in 1206. It wasn't just a casual thing. It was really woven into how he saw his journey.
So he was booked on flight AI171 to London, going to reunite with his wife, Anjalaben, and their daughter.
A trip he'd already postponed. He was meant to fly earlier, June 5th, but rescheduled for the 12th because of that Punjab by-election work.
And here is where the numbers just align in this chilling, almost unbelievable way.
The date of the crash, June 12th, 2025, often written 1206.
1206. Then his seat number on that flight.
Number 12.
And his scheduled boarding time.
12:10 p.m.
The number 12, again.
It's just... It's a convergence of numbers that is impossible to ignore, especially given his whole history with 1206.
You can see why people started looking deeper, can't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You see mentions of numerology popping up, how 1206 adds up to 9. 1 plus 2 plus 0 plus 6 is 9.
Right.
And the flight number AI171, 1 plus 7 plus 1, also 9.
Now, look, we're not here to, validate numerology or anything, but what's fascinating is what this says about us, about human nature. When something this random and terrifying happens, like a plane crash, our brains just instinctively try to find patterns, right? Try to impose some kind of order, some meaning onto the chaos.
It becomes a hook, a way to maybe process something that feels incomprehensible.
Exactly. It raises that fundamental question. Why do we look for these kinds of signs when, logic just doesn't offer comfort?
But what is undeniably powerful and just tragic here is the irony.
Oh, absolutely. This number, 1206, the one he linked with luck, with success, with good fortune, becomes the very date and a key detail, like his seat number, linked to his death in one of the country's worst air disasters.
That contrast between what the number meant to him and its final tragic connection. It's just profoundly sad.
It really is.
And moving on from the numbers, the aftermath of the crash.
Yeah.
It unleashed this wave of grief across the entire country.
The national response was immediate. Tributes came pouring in from all sides of the political spectrum, which really says something about the respect he commanded.
Prime Minister Modi, who obviously had a long relationship with Rupani, went to the crash site area, met with the family near the Gusail building.
You could see the emotion, his post on X talking about the shock of Rupani's absence.
Yeah. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh called him a dedicated grassroots leader.
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman used words like soft-spoken, gentle, focusing on his character.
The Gujarat BJP chief, C.R. Patil, called it a great loss. Union Home Minister Amit Shah rushed to Ahmedabad too, visited the site, the family.
But it wasn't just official statements, was it? The grief was really intense locally, especially in Rajkot, his home city.
Oh, absolutely. The descriptions are powerful, like a fog hanging over the city. Heavy sorrow. People remembered him not just as the former CM, but as Vijay, our neighbor.
Underscoring that personal connection he managed to keep.
Definitely. And the impact on his family.
Yeah.
Just devastating, obviously. His nephew, Mel Rupani, spoke about the shock.
His wife, Anjalaben, and daughter had to make that incredibly difficult journey back from London. Other relatives flew in from the U.S.
And that account from his personal assistant, Shailesh Mandalia, it's heartbreaking. Dropping him off at the airport, the last goodbye, and then hearing the news just minutes later.
It just brings the huge scale of it right down to that incredibly personal, painful moment.
So difficult. And amidst all this grief, all these personal stories, there's still the critical need for answers. What actually happened to Flight AI-171?
Exactly. The investigation is ongoing. And with any major air disaster like this, getting the full picture takes time, a lot of time.
There were some early reports, weren't there, about the plane maybe struggling to gain altitude.
Yes, mentions of that, and maybe suggestions the landing gear was still down. These are the kinds of potential clues, technical points, that investigators will be meticulously examining.
And the black box.
Recovered. It's being analyzed now by the DGCA in India, and Boeing is involved too. They'll go through every piece of data from the flight data recorder, every sound on the cockpit voice recorder.
Engine performance, control inputs, crew conversations.
Airspeed, altitude, everything, to piece together those final moments. But getting definite answers, understanding the precise sequence of events that will likely take months.
So while that vital technical work goes on, this whole story really pushes us, doesn't it, to look beyond just the why of the crash, or even that striking coincidence with the number.
To remember the man, Vijay Rupani, the life he lived, his legacy of service.
That's such an important point. It's so easy to get fixated on the number connection because, well, it's dramatic, it's uncanny.
But we can't let that overshadow the substance of his life, his work.
And one really powerful part of his legacy, something we learned about, is the Vijay Rupani Memorial Charitable Trust.
Ah, yes. He and his wife founded that after they tragically lost their son, Pujit.
Turning that immense personal loss into something positive, setting up a trust to help needy children. That says so much about their character, their resilience.
It really does, and it reinforces those qualities people talked about, his accessibility, his commitment to Gujarat, that fundamental humility.
He oversaw big projects, yes, but maybe that lasting impact was his ability to connect, to be seen as the guy next door, even in high office.
So while, social media and headlines naturally grabbed onto the 1206 angle because it's so striking focusing only on that.
It risks missing the bigger picture, doesn't it?
Hmm.
A life of service, a man known for connecting with people, and the immense shared tragedy of all 241 lives lost that day.
This story, in its own way, just slams home the unpredictability of life.
Absolutely. One day, you're managing campaigns, planning a family reunion overseas.
The next, you're tragically lost in this sudden, catastrophic event that no one could have possibly predicted.
The focus has to stay on the investigation, finding out why AI-171 crashed. The nation needs those answers, for closure, for prevention.
Of course. The cause was ultimately a technical failure, or human error, or some combination. Something definable, not a number.
But even as that factual search goes on, the story of Vijay Rupani and the chilling coincidence of 1206, it just lingers.
It does. It's a reminder, isn't it, that alongside the logic, the investigation, there's always this human element. Our search for meaning, our beliefs about luck or fate.
And the profound impact when random tragedy smashes right into those deeply personal stories.
It really leaves you thinking, doesn't it? What does a story like this make you reflect on?
How do we process these events that seem to just defy explanation? Events that throw our own beliefs about luck or control into such sharp relief against pure random catastrophe.
In a world where we're always trying to find order, trying to predict things, control things, what does a story like this really tell us about the fundamental unpredictability of life?
And where do we find comfort or meaning when the cold, hard facts, as necessary as they are, can't quite answer that deeper why of such a loss in that larger human sense?
That's definitely something to keep mulling over.
A question worth carrying with you from this deep dive.